Hey guys, I got a request to do some videos with this stuff. It's Polyform Model Air dry clay. And so I'm going to see what I can do with this. Now, it's been a while since I used air dry clay. I'm used to using the natural clay that we use at school. So first things first, I just got to see how the consistency of this product is. And we'll see what I'm going to make out of it. I think I'm going to start with something really easy, and once I get a feel for it, maybe I'll try to make something a little bit more advanced. So what I'm going to do today is I am going to start by trying to make just this little guy right here, a Goomba from Mario, because it's one of the easiest things I can think of. The feet and the little middle part are basically just little ovals, and it's kind of a mushroom shape because it's a mushroom. So we're going to start with that. I'll see if I can actually sculpt the details of the eyes and the mouth and stuff like that. We'll see how that goes, and then we'll see about what we can do maybe next time. So I'm just going to use a little bit of this clay. All right, so here we've got it, Polyform Model Air. I'm going to open it up. Oh no, I'm not. Looks like I need some scissors for this stuff. So I've got a little Tupperware container because I assume, like most types of clay things, it's going to start drying as soon as it is exposed to air. I had a little wax paper down just to make sure it's not getting clay all over my desk here. And we got just a nice solid brick of this stuff. Ooh, it is way more crumbly than I expected it to be. Huh, like it just crumbled and broke right apart. You can see kind of the texture of that. Somehow that is not very much what I was expecting, but hey, that's all right. So maybe I'll use, how much am I going to use? Maybe I'll do this one kind of small so I save most of it for next time. Maybe I'll use like that much of this. Stuff is really, really crumbly. Okay. So the package didn't really have any specific tips for using this type of clay. So I assume you can just kind of pinch it and sculpt it into whatever you want and it'll be fine. It does say it takes around, I think, a day or two to fully dry. So we'll see about that. I'll put my extra clay in here. I might actually go back and wrap that up with some saran wrap real tight just to make sure it's not getting too dry. But I'm sure while I'm sculpting with this, that'll be fine in there. All right, so get a feel for it. I'm popping my knuckles over here. Yeah, so it's really, really quite crumbly. All right, so let's start. Now I'm assuming I have a couple of things. Unfortunately, I didn't get any clay tools from school, but I do have my wife's like cake decorating tool that I can use if I need to. I have a little bucket of water over here, which I feel like might help. And let's just see what happens. So I'm going to start by kind of just getting my basic shapes that I want. So again, for a Goomba, it's 2 feet, a little circle in the middle of the body, and then the mushroom head shape. It's super easy. We're going to start out pretty simple. Just getting our sizes ready. Now I assume this stuff will smooth out once I've got the shapes I need, the basic forms that I need. And that's why I had the water, in case it has a little bit of trouble with the smoothing out process. It doesn't say don't use water. I didn't really do any research, so we'll see how it goes. So if we have something like this, then I can use maybe most of this for the general mushroom shape. I think this pack was like 14, 15 bucks on Amazon. Not totally sure. I don't think I have enough clay for what I need to do. So I'm actually going to take a little bit of clay off of these rather than using up the rest of my clay. There we go. I'm wondering as it warms up if it'll start to take and hold its form a little better, or at least a little smoother. I don't know why. I was not really expecting this to be as crumbly as it is. It's quite crumbly. And as you can see from my hands, quite powdery as well. So let's see if this little edit here got me enough leftover clay to do what I want to do. It's looking more like what we need. I'm also not really sure like how to bind these together. Like, will they just stick and stay, or do I need to, you know, with natural clay, oftentimes you can score and slit them to get them to stick together. I'm not sure how necessary that process is, or maybe if I should put like little toothpicks in there or something to give it a little bit of structural integrity. I really don't know right now. So we're just kind of figuring out as we go. That looks good. Let's get this into more of the form that we want. Just pinching the top a little bit. I envision these little Goombas as basically round. And one of the main things I'm curious about when sculpting with this is how smooth the surface is really going to be able to get. We're starting to get the shape we need for the top. And I definitely want to give this one, this is my test run here, because I don't want to sit here and sculpt something that takes a long time and that is super complex if I don't even know how the material is going to react. So that'll go there. That'll go there. That's the basic idea. Okay. Take a little bit of material off that. Basically seems like what I need. All right. So as you can see, we got the little feet, we got the little middle part, we got the top part. Kind of basically shaped, but not all the way there yet. That's okay. And yeah, just looking at my reference here. So that's our basic shape. There's a little mouth in there, 2 little eyes, and some eyebrows. We'll see if adding the eyebrows, I think might be, we talk about when we sculpt in class, like if you add really thin parts hanging off, they're almost certainly going to break. And I assume with this type of clay, the same thing is true. If we make really, really delicate things, they're probably not going to hold up very well. Now, for some reason, just because of the way this is kind of sticking together, or I should say the way it's not really sticking together, I feel like maybe I need to put something in there to kind of hold it together. I'm not sure. Let's see what water does. Let's experiment a little bit. If I take that into a little ball, get just a little touch of water on my fingers. Okay, that definitely feels slippery and slip-like. You've worked with, you know, natural clay. Slip is just really, really wet clay. That gets it definitely a little gooier, if you will. So let's see if I just take these two, get them a little wet. The question is, do I feel like that will actually join together? Or do I feel like as soon as it dries, it'll just pop apart? Can't really tell. Can't really tell. Let's try smoothing them together. I feel like this type of thing is always going to help it bond, help it join. Do we need to do anything else to really get it stuck together? It is super windy outside. It's awesome. So maybe I should have tried just this test all by itself and let that dry. I feel like at this point, if that dries, it'll bond. I don't think it'll fall apart because it feels like it's pretty well stuck together at this point. I think if I let that dry, it would be okay. So maybe that's the key, is using just a little bit of that liquid. Also, if the whole thing falls apart, it's 4 basic pieces. I'm assuming I can glue it back together and I'll be fine. All right, so maybe let's actually try to get these kind of smooth. Again, I know this little Goomba guy is super simple. That's the whole point. We want to start with something easy. So the feet are going to be kind of elongated spheres. Little ovals kind of flatter on the bottom, which naturally happens when you sculpt it against a table. There we go. Also, I wonder, like with natural clay, when it dries, when it air dries, you can go back and smooth out the surface of it, like once it's air dried. And I wonder how this works with that, or if that would be a problem. Don't really know. Let's get a little bit of water. Just getting my hands slightly damp here. I can already tell just from the way it feels that you definitely don't want to get it super, super wet. Kind of like regular clay too. It'll just get ultra sticky and muddy. And I can tell just from the way it feels that I have a feeling you don't want to get this ultra wet. There we go. So I wonder, do I need to smooth that out? Maybe I'll just let the feet and that middle part sit there for a minute and kind of bond together, which hopefully they will just from the weight of it. And maybe I'll start working a little bit more on this part. So again, the first thing I'm noticing is all these little wrinkles and bumps that are really annoying me. Probably don't really need to worry so much about the surfaces of it yet. Now it seems like that'll smooth out fine if I need it to. Cool. So really it's just about getting the shape and the forms that I want. Which is pretty close to. I just want to carve in those little details for the eyes and the mouth and stuff like that. And it says when this is done you can use markers or paint or whatever, so I assume I'm going to add some paint to this. Alright, so all we really want to do is get these huge cracks smoothed out a little bit, I think. Seems like it's working okay. Doesn't seem to be getting the clay too wet. It dries out pretty quick, actually. It's absorbing that moisture decently well. Now I'd like to get it smooth enough that at the end I don't have to go back and like sand it or something. That doesn't sound like a whole ton of fun to me. So let's keep working on this a little bit here. And it's interesting, the way this feels is kind of like halfway between maybe a natural clay and like a plasticine, which if you've ever used plasticine clay, it has not really a slimy feel to it, but almost like a, what's the word, maybe an oily type feel to it. There's a little bit of that when you get this clay wet. You probably shouldn't be doing this, adding all this water to it, but who knows? It didn't come with directions, so I'm going to learn by trying. Worst case scenario, it totally falls apart and gets ruined. And I know what not to do with the rest. Okay. Well, we've got that shape, or that form, I should say, pretty close to what we're looking for. So let's see what we can do. I'm going to go ahead and add in kind of a little indentation for the mouth. I would say this is definitely not my tool of choice for doing this, but it's just about the only tool I've got right now. He's got kind of a little frown. He's real bent out of shape about something. Maybe the fact that he's a mushroom and he keeps getting stepped on. Dunno. A little bit of water does wonders on that though. Look at that. Cool, cool. Give him some little teeth sticking out here. And I wonder if I can actually use this tool to pull that clay back down. I'm not sure. We're gonna see. I'm just kind of feeling out how detailing with this stuff works right now. Ooh. So that just kind of crumbled apart. So maybe I was either pushing too hard or didn't have it wet enough or put too much pressure on it. I'm not sure, but I didn't like that. Okay. Let's see if we can get that. Okay. So I have the basic shape of the mouth here. But there's these huge, like, kind of trenches where I dug out the area around the teeth. I'm gonna see if I can smooth that out some amount. That seems to be working actually pretty good, getting that more distinct for the teeth and less distinct for the area around the teeth. See how that looks like a trench dugout, and that looks a little bit natural, like there's a tooth kind of sticking out in front, but nothing crazy. That's what I'm aiming for here. I'm really just pushing that outside part in and trying to smooth it. I'm going to try not to add too much water because, again, that part's actually getting pretty wet. Now, again, I kind of am figuring or counting on the fact that you can work this a little bit once it's started to air dry too. But I don't know if that's true or not. So I guess we'll find that out later, huh? It's all right for there to be a little bit of indentation between the mouth and the teeth. We'll add just a touch of that. And then let's try to make that so it's not like a little shelf where the tooth comes out. Okay. All right. I think I might be getting to the point where I'm okay with the way the mouth looks. He says right before he digs it out way deeper and has to go back and do it over and over. That's all right. Okay. again, I'm going to try to flatten out that little shelf type thing I made. Like the bottom of the tooth almost has a trench through it. I don't want it to have a trench. I want it to just look like it's sticking out a little bit. Just a little bit. That's probably good. That's probably good. It's probably time to stop touching it and messing with it over. Also, once that air dries, I assume it'll be easier, because right now it's almost kind of sticky. So I feel like once that actually has some time to air dry, I'll be able to mess with it a little bit more like the way I want to. Hopefully. I don't know. And I had it earlier, so it was actually kind of pulled down like I wanted, and then I went back and messed it up. Because it can't leave well enough alone. That actually is alright. I like the way that pushes. Okay. So maybe let's leave the mouth alone for a minute. And let's try to get those eyes. So. And again, I'm looking at this, there it is, this reference the whole time. Just so what I can look at. Eyes are basically little oval shapes. I'm definitely not going to be able to get the eyebrows sticking off the side of the head like that. I think that would 100% break. But I can probably get them so they're kind of flat against the head. We're going to give that a shot. We're going to give that a shot. Okay. So, eyes are pretty close to the middle. I wonder, it looks like they're kind of set in here. I wonder, should I actually have them sticking out a little? I don't know. Probably also put the mouth too high up. Oh, I totally put the mouth too high up, and I didn't put anywhere near enough space in between. The eyes are actually like in between the teeth. I'm not going to be able to fit that at all. Nope, we're going to improvise. Let's do just kind of sketching in where I want it to be, I guess, and then we'll actually start working on getting it looking like anything. And we'll have our eyebrows kind of as separate pieces stuck in there. Probably should have started with the eyes. I wonder why did I start with the mouth? Like the number one piece of advice I always give. If you're trying to make anything with a face, start with the eyes. And yet, for some reason, I just chose to start with the mouth on this one. Kind of wish I hadn't chose that. So what I'm going to try to do is get an indentation around the outside of the eye and then kind of smooth out the middle so it's not that kind of shelf around the middle of the eye. We'll see if I can actually do that or not. Ooh, that worked really well so far. Not bad. Okay. That's pretty much what I wanted. Nice. Let's see if we can do the same thing over here. This clay will definitely let you know if you're doing something and it's too dry, because it will flake and crumble apart pretty readily. Ooh. Outside of that, it's not looking so good. All right, so I'm going to do the same type of thing I tried to do on this one, which is just get the outside nice and crisp and distinct, but have the inside part of the eye not looking like a total shelf or ledge or whatever you want to call it. Let's crispen up the outside first. Good. Outside is really nice and crisp and solid, and let's try to smooth out that inside part. Now for smoothing, I always find that using your finger is really one of the best tools, because unlike a hard plastic tool, your finger will give. In other words, it'll bend. But I don't think I can fit my finger down in there without mushing up everything. Okay, so we've got the basic form of the eye. Move that inside out a little more. Cool. All right. And as you can see, my eyes are well, they're not really closer together, but the mouth's a different shape. All right, so we have kind of a big bump in the middle here, which I'll see if I can actually stick on. And then we have the little shape of the eyebrows, which I'm going to see if I can stick on. So let's get some new clay. Actually, I got a lot of dried up clay on my hands here. I'm going to go wash my hands real quick. And I'll be right back to try to put those little eyebrows and that little bump. You got a little bump right there in the middle. I'll see what I can do about that. I'm going to go wash my hands real quick first. Cool. So the other thing that comes to mind is that, I assume once it's dry, you can always like scratch more details out of it. You just can't add more. So I don't super need to worry about removing material. The main thing I'm looking for is to make sure all the material that I need there is there. In other words, any details I want to add really need to be done now. I can change the shape of them a little bit by removing material once it starts to dry. I assume. We'll see. All right, so again, this clay feels really dry. So we're just going to squeeze a little bit of water into it. That feels much better. Oh, and that's too much. I immediately felt it go from feeling good to feeling gooey. We don't want it gooey. That's not going to help anybody. Let's try that again. I forgot there was so much water on my hand. Okay. Now I think what I might do is actually sculpt this as like one big long eyebrow, because that little bump goes over top of the middle. So that might actually be the easiest way to do this. So we'll see. Woo! This piece is way too thick, but you got to start somewhere. And I assume, like any other type of clay, that if you get really, really tiny, small points, they'll just kind of break off when it dries. So we're going to try to not get too tiny a points over here. All right, we're going to put that guy on. And they're going to go up and around. Up around. Now it seems way too thick in the middle. We're going to hopefully remove some of that in just a moment. And actually, I'm not convinced that's going to stick. So we're going to get this clay a little bit wet first. Maybe I should wet this too. Okay. So that's close to the forms that I want. It's kind of splitting apart in the middle there. We'll have to see what we can do about that. There's a little bit of extra over here. We're going to remove some of that. I'm just trying to get the basic form down, and then I can use my little clay tool to kind of rework it a little bit if I need to. Which I do need to, obviously. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is remove a little bit from the middle, or at least kind of push it down. Try to smooth that out so I can add that little bump to it. Get a little bit more moisture in here. I'm going to try to kind of push in on the eyebrow while I smooth out the joint to help it stay together. And I can go back and change the shape of that a little bit more if I need to. I just want to make sure it has something to grab onto. It seemed like it worked okay. Okay. We'll try the same thing on the bottom. And then we can start getting our kind of final shape of what we want that to look like. Smooth out. Okay. So I feel like at this point that is safe, at least that it's not going to break off when it dries. Let's get that little middle bump. Let's get that little middle bump. Maybe a tiny bit more clay, but really not a whole lot more. Like a teeny tiny little bump there. So we're gonna just press that guy right on. Flatten that out a bit, and then just try to smooth everything out. At this point, it's probably way too much on top of the head, but hey, we can remove some of that later if we need to. Remove some of that right now if we need to. Smooth it out. Okay. So I think the eyebrows are mainly attached. They're very dry and crumbly-ish. I'm going to try little by little to just smooth them out a little bit with some water on my finger. Kind of don't like how dry and crumbly-ish they are, if I'm being honest. Add some bigger indentions here and here. Yeah, this material's interesting. It's definitely different than working with natural clay for sure. And that's all right. I think I have gotten that a good bit too wet. I think I need to let that sit and dry for a moment. Just getting rid of extra clay I don't need. A little bit more of that eye shape. Again, I assume I can remove clay without too much of a problem once it's dry. But it's always best to start, you know, close to what you want. The closer it is to your final product, the better, for sure. That's always going to be the case. Okay. Remove a little bit of the ledginess or shelfiness of that. There's like a huge kind of bulge sticking out of the head, which is okay. How much of that should we try to get rid of? We can try to smooth that out a little bit, so it's not quite so extreme. Yeah, we can stand to mess with that. Okay. Okay. That looks better. There's at least less of a huge bulge in there now. Okay. So I think I'm going to try to go ahead and attach it. And then just kind of see where we're at. See if it attaches, see if it holds. See what else I can smooth out. You can see the eyebrows actually are doing pretty good. They're doing all right. They kind of have the shape we need them to. They don't seem like they're ultra cracky fall aparty right now. Yeah. Okay. We got the eyebrows, we got the eyes. Of course, we'll just paint the little pupils on. We got the basic shape of the mouth. Little teeth sticking out. Okay. There we go. It's Goomba-esque. So let's see. Oh, yeah. So back to my feet. And the other part, I lifted this up and they basically totally fell apart. So I feel like I definitely have to attach those, maybe add a little bit of water, maybe do that smoothing thing you saw earlier. Because I do not think that is going to do what it needs to do without a little bit of reinforcement. And who knows, like I said, this whole thing might end up just drying and then just totally falling apart back into the four pieces, the feet, the middle, and the head. If that does happen, learning experience. Now I'll know. And I guess I mentioned earlier, like maybe using toothpicks or something to help support it, which must be one advantage of air dry clay. Since it doesn't need to go into the kiln, you probably could do that without any sort of problem. All right. And I'm just trying to get some sort of actual connection in there, some sort of actual bond where the clay is sticking to something instead of just sitting on top of something. Okay, see if we can do the same thing on the other side. more water. And once it's actually kind of got something to stick to, maybe we can go back and change the shape for the better a little bit. Foot, foot, middle. We're gonna put that top part, see if we can get it to stick and bond and all that good stuff. Ooh, my foot's cracking apart. No, 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 must push down too hard. Don't do that. Don't do that to me. Or maybe I'm just getting it way too wet. That could be it too. That could be it too. Like I said, I'm pretty surprised at how overall crumbly this material is. That's really cracking. So maybe all of this trying to smooth it out has been doing the opposite. It's just going to make it crack and fall apart. I don't really know. Like I said, we're going to find out together when I let this thing dry. Maybe I shouldn't have been using any of this water at all. So just trying to attach the head to the little body part at this point. Mix some of that clay in so it bonds. And we'll see if the thing after I do this will even stand up. Yeah, look at all that cracking. I don't like it. I got a bad feeling. I got a bad feeling. No wonder, you know, depending on how much it does crack up, if you can put more clay in there and smooth it out, if you can just paint over the cracks. Well, at this point, we at least got ourselves a Goomba. Now, how it dries and what happens to it, that's anybody's guess. But I'll make sure I give you guys the answer. So yeah, air dry clay, day 1. Was it a success? Was it a success or not? I have no clue. But I'll make sure I let you guys know next time. We'll see how that little Goomba there turned out. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's definitely getting a little cracked up. Whatever. Well, I'll see you guys next time and let you know how it went. If you've got clay at home, give it a shot. If you want to sculpt but you don't have clay, again, I got videos about how you can make Play-Doh. Lots of stuff you can do. Yeah. Have a good day. See you next time.